this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyperlocal, real-time, customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year. You can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Running a business is hard enough. Don't make it harder with a dozen apps that don't talk to each other. One for sales, another for inventory, a separate one for accounting. That's software overload. Odoo is the all-in-one platform that replaces them all. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, HR. Fully integrated, easy to use, and built to grow with your business. Thousands have already made the switch. Why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Introducing Anabay Sofas, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices. Anabay brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anabay is the only machine-washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquids simply slide right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your living space today. Sofas start at just $699 with no risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
Welcome back in. Play Travis Buck Sexton show. All right, we got a bunch of news that came out of President Trump's cabinet meeting. Let's dive in here and actually keep you updated with all of that. So let me go in here and find out, make sure we get it in order. Here is cut 33. I do understand why people ask questions that are very specific in terms of military strategy. I also love that Trump every time is like, why in the world would I tell you any of this?
Yeah, the reporters are like, sir, are you going to launch a stealth attack on this member of the IRGC tomorrow at his house in the mountains? Like, probably not going to let you know.
33, here is that version of that question that was just asked in the cabinet meeting.
Mr. President, are you going to go in for the uranium? Like, how do you secure Iran? And
let's assume I was or I wasn't. Why would I ever answer a question?
Can you accomplish
what kind of a question? Am I going to go in for the... Oh, yeah, I'm going in. We're going in tomorrow at 3 o'clock. How could you possibly ask a question like that and expect an answer? I don't know. But I don't know. I think you're a friendly person, too. It's just such a ridiculous question.
It is very funny. And again, I was talking about this with Laura yesterday. I think Trump very often is so funny that it sometimes works against him in the context of people take him so literally on the left, and they cannot comprehend when he's joking. But yeah, we're going to go in at 3:00. Remember when Reagan got caught off mic saying we're hitting the Russians, making a joke, and it turned into a huge story. But the specifics of this are every day he gets asked, hey, what are you trying to do? As we talked about yesterday, I think the genius of Trump in this respect has been he's caught the Iranians napping twice. He got them in June last year. They had no idea the attack was coming. He took out the Ayatollah on a Saturday when they had sent specific indications that they weren't going to do anything, such that the Iranians are super nervous about negotiating with him now because he's caught them napping twice. And that's because he's put out different perspectives, and it's hard to analyze what exactly he's doing. All right. This is a big story, Buck, that we talked about yesterday and earlier this week. Things are going so well in Venezuela that no one is even talking about Venezuela very much. I saw Doug Burgum a couple weeks ago, told him we want to get him on because he has been involved very much in the Venezuela oil situation. And he, at the cabinet meeting, gave an update, cut 35, on just how much Venezuela's oil production is growing. Listen.
Back on Venezuela, where Chris and I both had a chance to be there, I literally think they're going to put a statue to President Trump. And it's not a political statement. It's an actual thing.
So. That would be a great honor.
No, because it's like they view President Trump like Simon Bowler. He's the liberator of a country, and this is a country where they love American baseball. You look on the street, they're wearing NBA jerseys, and Delcy and her team working with us, getting back. Chris and I both experienced it was the first time in Venezuelan history that they had the free press allowed to come on to essentially where the White House, the Palacio Miraflores, and it was an emotional thing for people that had been for 20 years had never had a chance to be there. So
forget that. When are they going to do the statue? The hell with you.
So that is really, really funny. 50% increase in 3 months they've been there. And maybe Trump's going to get a statue. And then President Trump, we talked about this, and it's a good pivot to allow us to discuss the continued impact of illegal immigrant crime in this country. Trump paused the cabinet meeting to deliver a message about Sheridan Gorman. She is the Chicago area college student who was killed in cold blood by a Venezuelan illegal immigrant in Chicago. And unfortunately, we've got recent stories that continue of totally innocent people being victimized by illegal immigrants. But here is Trump in the cabinet meeting addressing Sheridan Gorman, 18-year-old murdered in cold blood.
It'd be great if people like the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois would say, please come in and stop the crime. A beautiful young lady was killed the other day, and the father was a very good friend of Dan Scavino, and he took it very hard. Dan took it very hard, like the father, friends. They grew up together, and it's a young lady whose life would be saved if we did what we did as an example in Washington, D.C., which is now a safe city. All the time, people come up to me in the building, people that work here, they say, thank you so much. I know immediately what they're talking about. They're able to walk to work. They walk to work. You all walk to work. Some of you were mugged. I know you told me stories. Some of you were mugged. One person in particular was viciously mugged in the group right here. It's not happening anymore. You have a safe city.
And so, Buck, I saw this story and I just tweeted it out, and a lot of people are discussing it. And I think it is unfortunate. But again, this could be happening in any city in America. We could point to it. And I want to make sure that I get this right because it was from Bill Malugin, said a 4-time previously deported, this is from the New York Post story, a 4-time previously deported Honduran illegal immigrant has been charged with murder after he allegedly shoved an 83-year-old U.S. Air Force veteran onto subway tracks in New York City's Upper East Side. The veteran died from his injuries. The man who pushed him onto the tracks has a lengthy rap sheet. I want to make sure I get this man's name. He's a grandfather, Richard Williams. died from his injuries at the Lexington Avenue 63rd station just before noon, middle of the day on March 8th. His alleged attacker was a Honduran national, and that Honduran national had been deported 4 different times. And Buck, unfortunately, this is there's cell phone footage of this. It's an awful situation. 83 years old. You're trying to take the subway at noon in New York City, and a man who should have never been in this country takes your life.
Not only should he never have been in this country, he came back in after being deported, Clay.
4 times.
Which is a felony. This is again where I get very frustrated. People say, oh, our immigration system's broken. That's actually, in many cases, not true. Democrats break it. They refuse what is actual statute. They refuse to enforce laws. And this is a perfect example of it. AI makes this all so easy now for legal stuff. I got to tell you, AI, you can pull up statutes in a second. You can pull up any case law. I mean, the speed of this stuff is incredible. And you can see what I'm saying. It is a federal felony to, if you have been deported because you came in illegally, to come back. And doesn't that make perfect sense, by the way? It's one thing, okay, you came, we got you, you're gone. Now you're going to do this again? This guy's done this 4 times, and he somehow is still walking around the streets in this country. This is where everyone has to understand. During the Biden years, Clay, it became too obvious for anyone to pretend otherwise, really, that Democrats wanted an open border. And, we saw 10 million came in. They're pretending, oh, it's about asylum. They're not asylum seekers. They're scammers. We see, okay. That was one revelation. Another revelation people are now having under this Trump administration, because a lot of it is, Clay, we're talking about it more. The media can't squelch these stories the way they used to, thanks to things like X, I might add, formerly Twitter, and Elon. This stuff gets out. All the media sees it. It's no longer like Georgia man or Michigan man pushes, oh, you mean a guy who came here from Ecuador who's been deported 5 times and is like has a long rap sheet of being like a sex criminal? That's Michigan man or Georgia man, or in this case, New York City man. We're all so sick of it. But Clay, what we're seeing now is Democrats are continuing sanctuary policies, continuing to thwart immigration enforcement of exactly individuals like the guy who threw this veteran and grandfather on the subway tracks. They don't want this to stop. Just like they didn't want the border to be secure, and then Trump secured it right away. Democrats are all in on it's a sanctuary for the criminals. It's a sanctuary for the predators. It is not a sanctuary city. It is not a safe place for Americans. They don't want to change that.
15 prior charges for this illegal immigrant who killed 83-year-old Richard Williams. 15 prior charges. And again, noon on the subway tracks. Buck, you can speak to, for people out there who don't know Manhattan, this is, in theory, I believe, a pretty safe area. Upper East Side. Like, this is not an area in New York City.
Where I grew up.
Yeah, that you would anticipate.
It's probably the safest single jurisdiction in all of the 5 boroughs, or close to it. One of the safest.
So if you think about this, noon in one of the safest areas of Manhattan, 83-year-old veteran, grandpa, gets killed by this illegal immigrant that should have never been here. And again, it comes on the heels of what's happened in Chicago. I mean, every day you can wake up and find a story like these. And it is you're basically just permitting this to occur.
But just this, Clay, I just think this is so important. A rational response to an incident like this would be for the Democrat mayor, communist mayor of New York, and the prosecutor, the DA, district attorney of New York, Alvin Bragg. I mean, he's maybe the worst in the entire country, by the way, as a prosecutor. But put that aside. The rational human response would be, you know what? We will work when there's somebody who is a violent offender, as this guy was, a repeat offender, as this guy was, previously deported, as this guy was. We will honor ICE detainers. We will work with federal law enforcement. We want to keep all of our illegals washing dishes and cleaning up and doing all that stuff. That's, they want to do that, but they'll at least agree with us that we shouldn't have serial predators walking around the streets who are illegals. Clay, they won't do it. They won't budge. They won't even make that exception to the policy. So what else do you have to know? This is the cost. 80-year-old veteran grandpas getting thrown on the subway tracks in broad daylight in the nicest part of New York City and dying, and their family getting that phone call and the community having that shock. This is a price Democrats are willing to have other people pay so that they can have cheap labor and they can feel like they're not racist. That's it. That's where the country is.
And it is fairly explicit at this point. Democrats see as their base people who are not citizens of this country. And you have to ask yourself, why do they see these people as their base? Because they want to give them citizenship and believe they will be their base. That's the game plan. And so in the meantime, a lot of innocent people are being killed by illegal immigrants. And for people out there who say, well, what? I wish there was a zero murder rate. Unfortunately, when you're killed by an American citizen, you can keep them in jail, right? Because most of the times the people who commit murder have long rap sheets. So we're certainly in favor of that. But the rate of illegal immigrant murder of citizens of the United States should be zero. That should not occur. There should not be a single person. And I can't even imagine what it's like to have I've got an 18-year-old who's going off to college in August. I can't even imagine the torment for those parents who raise their kid, send her off to college in Chicago. She's walking in a park and she just gets murdered by an illegal immigrant.
But I think this is so important. Obviously, I totally agree with you. I would just add to this. They won't even agree. You're saying there should be no illegals here, so there should be no murders of Americans by illegals. True factual statement. Lock that in. We're talking about illegals who are being arrested for other serious stuff. They are in custody. There are men and women with guns and badges who have them. They have hurt Americans already, and Democrats go, oh no, we won't help federal law enforcement send you back to your home country, rapist. We won't help federal law enforcement send you back to where you belong, murderer, gang member. This is like I was saying. We're not talking about 80-year-old abuelas who have been here for 30 years, who have done nothing illegal in addition to, this. We're miles from that conversation. I think that's just what's so frustrating is that everyone needs to catch up with this. There's an illegal alien with a history of harming children and breaking laws and violence and doing bad stuff. Can't turn him over to ICE, Clay. That would be a victory for Trump. Can't do it. Every Democrat jurisdiction of the country with a sanctuary policy, that is their answer. Can't do it. Keep that child predator on the streets. Keep that murderer in your community. Because it makes Chuck Schumer and his constituents feel good about themselves. It makes Democrats feel like they're better than you. And they just hope that they don't actually get, they don't suffer. It's not their daughter who gets murdered while she's at college. It's not their grandfather who's thrown on the railroad tracks. Clay, I have absolutely no patience for this crap whatsoever. Everyone listens to the show knows I get as fired up about this as anything. And every smug Democrat out there who's like, but we're a nation of immigrants. They are just swallowing propaganda and spewing lies. It's nonsense. Total nonsense. All right. A joyous holiday in the Jewish religion is being celebrated next week, Passover. But unless things dramatically change in the Middle East, most Israelis will recognize this holiday under the shadow of war. You've likely seen reports out of Israel. Air raid sirens are heard daily, if not hourly, with civilians constantly running to bomb shelters. Many of the missile and drone attacks are purposely at night. That's why the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews are on the ground in Israel providing food and emergency supplies, equipping bomb shelters, and caring for elderly Holocaust survivors. Your most generous Passover gift shows you stand with Israel. To rush your gift, call 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ, or give online at ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org.
Sometimes all you can do is laugh, and they do a lot of it with the Sunday Hang. Join Clay and Buck as they laugh it up in the Clay and Buck podcast feed on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyper-local, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? Wash away your worries with Anabay. Anabay is the only designer sofa that's machine washable inside and out, starting at just $699. Plus, Anabay sofas are pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and feature changeable slip covers and modular pieces. Get up to 60% off site-wide with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit washablesofas.com to get yours now. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Running a business is hard enough, so why make it harder with a dozen different apps that don't talk to each other? One for sales, another for inventory, a separate one for accounting. Before you know it, you are drowning in software instead of growing your business. This is where Odoo comes in. Odoo is the only business software you'll ever need. It's an all-in-one, fully integrated platform that handles everything. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, HR, and more. No more app overload. No more juggling logins. Just one seamless system that makes work easier. And the best part, Odoo replaces multiple expensive platforms for a fraction of the cost. It's built to grow with your business, whether you are just starting out or already scaling up. Plus, it's easy to use, customizable, and designed to streamline every process, so you can focus on what really matters, running your business. Thousands of businesses have made the switch, so why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
Second hour of Clay and Buck kicks off now. We're joined by our friend Alex Berenson. Unreported Truths is his very successful Substack, which I would recommend you all go subscribe to, where he does independent journalism, independent analysis and reporting. Alex, great to have you back on the program. The title of your piece that we wanted to have you on to talk about from a couple days ago, the most enraging piece you will read this year. I would caveat, maybe given what we're talking about today, some of these stories among the most enraging, definitely top of, but it definitely emphasizes something that is very real that people are starting to catch on to in larger and larger numbers, and that is Democrat policies on crime are insane. I mean, they're putting people at risk. Terrible things keep happening that are preventable. Tell everybody this story out of Seattle, what's gone on here, because it ties right into our conversations about these illegals that have killed people recently.
Yeah, so this gentleman was not an illegal. I think he's actually a Washington native.
Sure. Yeah.
And he in 2024 he attacked an 80-year-old woman. He was 48 at the time. He was trying to carjack her. He pulled her out of her car. Actually, there were people around who tried to stop him. One of whom I think actually tried to get a bat and go after him, but they weren't able to stop him, and he sort of threw the woman against the car, a nearby car, and then backed into her and crushed her and killed her, and then drove off in the car. And she was a dog walker. Even though she was 80, she had a dog walking business and was actually going to the dog park with her own dog. And shortly thereafter, people at a park in Seattle called animal control, or I don't know if they called animal control or the police, but they called someone and said, there's somebody harming a dog. It turned out this gentleman was stabbing this dog that he had taken in this car to death. He threw the dog away. This was not exactly the crime of the century from a smart criminal point of view. He left his fingerprints. The police found him, less than 24 hours later. He still had the car keys with him. No one is disputing. Normally I'm pretty careful when I say alleged, but nobody's really disputing that he did this. So what happened then is, this guy has a long history of crime. He's an 8-time convicted felon, and in fact was eligible for the 3 strikes program that Washington had, which would have left him in jail for the rest of his life. But ultimately, in a crime about 15 years ago, pled to something that did eventually get him out. So what his defense team is claiming is that he's incompetent. And the situation is that you have to be able to participate meaningfully in your own defense. Which is reasonable, okay? If you're too insane even to, know what's going on, there can't really be a trial. So the judge ordered that he be given, psychiatric medicine to be restored to competency. And he was restored to competency. So that should pave the way for the trial to begin. Except he was then discharged, or moved, I shouldn't say discharged, but moved back from the forensic hospital where he was to jail, and essentially stopped taking his medicine, and so became incompetent again, or claimed to be incompetent again, right? There's some question as to whether he's malingering, whether he's actually pretending to be incompetent or not. So I wrote about this because there was actually a second case that got a lot of attention in Seattle, a 2023 murder where a man walked up to a woman, a pregnant woman, whose car was stopped, and just shot her 6 times, killed her, walked away. Now that guy was then just last week allowed to plead not guilty by reason of insanity. And it seems pretty clear that in that case, the guy actually is not competent. We can argue about whether there should be some kind of verdict of guilty but insane, where he would go to a forensic hospital and then go to jail for the rest of his life. I think that makes sense. But this case to me is even worse. It's even more upsetting and infuriating, because this guy who did this 48-year-old who killed the dog walker in 2024, has a long criminal record. He actually has another conviction for driving under the influence and killing somebody. So this idea that he's actually too mentally ill to participate in his trial, he knew exactly what he was doing when he carjacked that car. He tried to escape, right? So you and I have talked in the past about crimes that are committed under the influence of psychosis. It might be drug-induced psychosis. Those have a certain look to them. This case looks more just like a carjacking gone
Can I just
bad,
jump in, Alex?
And now the guy is manipulating the system.
This is important. This guy in the Seattle case you mentioned that just murdered this pregnant woman, just shot her 6 times, killed the unborn baby. That guy has been sent by a judge in Seattle to a psychiatric facility instead of facing 50 plus years in prison, which is what he was facing.
That's correct.
He could be released in 6 months. They could just let him go.
He could. It's super unlikely that would happen. But you're right. He can be, because he was found not guilty by reason of insanity. Now, again, and that's why I think we should introduce into our system a guilty but insane verdict, where if you are found, essentially not guilty by reason of insanity, but there's no question you committed the crime, if at some point you're restored to competency, you then go to jail and you serve the crime. But that's not the system that we have. We have a system where if you were, judged insane at the time of the crime, you don't bear responsibility. And that's where we are. So that's a bad case. Again, to me, this other case is worse, because I do think that there's a good chance that this guy's malingering.
Okay, so let's dive in here, because we've got positive overall crime trend lines. We've got a lot of people being arrested, and put in jail. Let's pretend, Alex, that we said, hey, we want to have an actual war on murder, right? And it seems to some extent that that's what's happened in Washington, D.C. It's gotten way safer for everybody else. Don't we basically know everybody who's going to commit a murder in the context of, it's not very often that somebody goes from completely law abiding to murder, right? That does occur very, very rarely. But almost always, if you ask cops, they would say, yeah, we know the 300 people in our city who are the most likely to commit murders. Can't we just lock those guys up and actually keep them in prison when they're arrested, as they always are for other offenses?
So, I mean, can we lock them up for nothing? No.
No, I'm saying that these people are always arrested. Almost 100%. Yes. People who commit murder have long rap sheets before they are convicted of a murder.
So this is like a really interesting discussion. And unfortunately, I've got to run to a TSA checkpoint in the near future. So I can't have it with you for a long time. But so yes, crime, certainly murders are going down in the U.S., right? There's been a long trend on this. Yet people's perceptions of public safety, and certainly in cities like Seattle and New York, are not improving. And why that is, I think, is so a lot of crime, most crime is committed by the people you're talking about, right? And oftentimes in the 80s in particular, it was drug dealing related crime, right? So what's happened? Well, actually, there's nobody working the corners anymore. A lot of, when drugs are bought, often they're bought off Snapchat, they're bought off, your phone. And so there's not actually territorial wars anymore. So that's really helped the cops, right? Plus they have spot shotter. They have lots of good investigative techniques that they didn't used to have. So why are people more scared? Because the kind of crime that I just mentioned to you that we've been talking about, right? Walking up to somebody in the street who's a true innocent, who doesn't have any, isn't out there to buy drugs, right? Those are the crimes that scare people, and they scare women, people who don't expect to be a victim of violent crime, and who quote unquote shouldn't be a victim of violent crime. And to me, that's where we've got to focus our energy. And the number one way to do that is to get sort of drug addicted homeless people who are having psychosis off the streets. And I favor, the Trump administration has moved in this direction, and I think they should continue to do this. Civil commitment policies that will get these folks off the streets.
Alex Berenson, Unreported Truths. Alex, good luck at the airport, buddy. Thanks for calling in before you run.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, go to it. I hope you're 6 hours early. Anyway, or whatever crazy things they're saying for New York City these days. Clay, I just want to address this, follow up on what Alex is saying. This is so important. When we look at crime, people ask me about what crime was like in New York City when I was growing up there, because this is the huge turnaround case story that everyone always cites for a city. 2,200 murders in 1991. Okay? 2,200 murders. Huge amount of murders. Now, there was a lot of decay and disorder and graffiti and bad things going on. But a huge majority of those murders were still happening in high crime areas. Right? More stuff would bleed over. The city was less safe, no question.
It's bad guys shooting each other.
When you look at Chicago, why is it that rich Democrats who live in, isn't Lincoln Park a really nice area? I don't know Chicago well. Is that a fancy area?
I think
What's
so.
the fancy area?
The north side of Chicago is very nice.
Wherever the fancy rich people in Chicago live, why aren't they all voting Republican? Because all the shootings are happening in the south and the west side for the most part. But what you see, because of Democrats' refusal to deal with these essentially drug addicted and or severely psychiatric unstable repeat criminals, is people being stabbed in broad daylight with their dog in a park in a nice area. Yeah. Someone on 63rd Street subway in New York City, a man being thrown on the subway tracks by a career criminal, a felon, in that case, an illegal alien too. Those hit people differently. This isn't about drug dealers shooting drug dealers in, inner city Brooklyn. That doesn't even,
those murders don't make news. Right? Still to this day, to your point, I think that's important. I think what Alex is saying too. And what would be interesting is, while we may be at a low in murders overall, are people who are 100% innocent being killed at high rates? That's a really fascinating question to go into, right? Because if you're engaging in criminal behavior, I still hope you don't get killed. But if criminals are shooting at each other, to Buck's point, when there are 2,200 murders going on and most of the people getting killed are those individuals, it is different, and it does hit people differently than an 83-year-old veteran like what just happened in Manhattan, Richard Williams, or this young 18-year-old college girl who just goes to a park and gets murdered while she's there by an illegal immigrant. Both of these people killed by illegal immigrants. I also come back to, Buck, and this is where I think you really have to push back aggressively, because they'll say, well, I don't know why you're focusing on immigrant crime. Again, my answer is because it should be zero. I wish we had a zero crime rate for American citizens, but when you come here illegally, you should have never been allowed in this country. You should have never been permitted to commit a crime. And we should have Sheridan Gorman, and there are a ton of Sheridan Gormans, Lake and Rileys everywhere. Young, innocent college girls should still be alive.
Let's just kind of take this to an analogy for a second, Clay. If I was walking through my neighborhood, I walk Ginger around all the time. She's the sweetest little dog. But if somebody's 80-pound pit bull, was aggressive and attacked someone else's dog, and I knew that this dog was a danger. I knew this dog was dangerous to people. No owner, no leash, no harness, nothing. Okay. But let's just say, and obviously I know this would be a difficult thing to do. I take this pit bull off of another dog that it's attacking, and I go, you know what? I don't want people to think poorly of pit bulls. So I'm going to take this dog, instead of taking it to animal control, or instead of making sure that it is contained, I'm going to release it in the nearest dog park and just see if it, rips apart someone's toy poodle.
Yeah.
Everybody would rightly think that I was being a monster. Law enforcement in sanctuary cities is doing that every day with these criminals.
Yeah.
Every
That's
single
a great analogy.
And they go, oh my gosh, the pit bull just ripped apart a little poodle. Yeah, it's ripped apart 5 other little poodles, and you keep letting it loose in the park because you don't want to be mean to pit bulls. Sorry to the pit bull owners, by the way. I know you're going to get. I'm just, see,
pit bull is
the pit bull owners are going to get ticked off at me.
Yeah, pit bull is the most violent dog. But no, I mean, look, if you have but the way that I would put it is, if you have a violent predator that you know is a violent predator,
we'll make it a Preza Canario, Clay. We'll get with something that's not going to upset everybody. Those are huge, very strong dogs, okay? A Preza Canario. But you see the analogy? It's the same analogy.
Yeah. No, it's 100% right. And again, it comes back to the question I was asking Alex, which is, and you know this from your time working with the NYPD jointly, we know who is going to commit murders at this point. It is very, very rare that someone has a completely clean criminal background and just kills a completely innocent person. Does it happen every now and then? Yes, so rarely. The murder rate would be basically non-existent if we just kept violent people off the street.
And this is where, unfortunately, libertarians, you have been a scourge on this issue. I'm just going to say it out loud. The libertarian industrial complex with their 3 strikes laws. People are going to prison forever for stealing a pair of socks. No, we actually need 3 strikes laws. We just need them to be for serious felonies. Okay. No one's saying you go to prison forever for jaywalking, but you do 3 class A or, class 1 felonies, 3. Every state that thinks that it's serious about crime. Some of you, by the way, are like, that's even too, but let's start there. 3 serious felonies, you go away for 20. 3 serious felonies, you go, not a lot of people are worried about what happens to people, when they come out in their 50s and 60s, okay? Why not have that? Why not have that law?
It's a great question.
There's really, the criminal justice conversation is one. Democrats have nothing. They have nothing to add to this other than just letting people continue to suffer and be harmed. All right. As homeowners, we quickly learn the difference between what needs repair versus replacement. Get ahead of it with a free roof inspection. Erie Home is a 50-year-old company specializing in making sure the roof on your house is in excellent shape. Erie Home has been looking after, repairing, and replacing roofs for 50 years now. They start by inspecting your roof for any problems free of charge using a 25-point inspection they've developed over their many years in business. If your roof needs replacement, Erie Home delivers all kinds of options, including the use of newer metal materials that are made to mimic the look of the roof you likely have now. Your new roof from Erie Home comes with a 50-year transferable warranty, so if you sell your home, you're providing even more value in that sales process. Schedule your free inspection at eriehome.com/buck today and get up to $1,200 off any installation work that needs to be done. That's eriehome.com/buck. Offer of $1,200 off is valid for new roof installations only, valid on new roofing installation only. Minimum purchase required and restrictions apply. See rep for warranty details and promotional details.
Stories of freedom, stories of America. Inspirational stories that unite us all. Each day, spend time with Clay and Buck. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast.
Welcome back in, Clay, Travis, Buck Sexton show. Let's go into the guy that I never would have believed would become the most sane Democrat in the country, but he is John Fetterman, and this is pretty awful. This was a pro-Iran and Hamas protest that happened in Philadelphia, and I want you to listen to what was being chanted. This is cut 32. This happened in Philadelphia.
Until we have done everything in our power to bring the United States to its knees, let us not lose sight of the enemy. For every U.S. military base that crumbles, and for every U.S. soldier who returns home in a casket, we cheer. Hamas, Hezbollah, Ansarallah, all of the resistance forces we celebrate. These popular voices on the ground spend every waking moment in direct confrontation with Zionism, and they rely on a strong Iranian state to maintain their fighting capacity.
Okay, she said, I think that's a woman, although I've been wrong before. For every U.S. soldier who comes back in a casket, we cheer. If you had difficulty hearing what was being said. Again, that's in Philadelphia. That was a rally that they were having in support of Iran. And John Fetterman has been going off on the Democrat Party. And I wanted to just play a couple of these different cuts. Here he is saying Democrat Party is being held hostage by the far left flank from putting the country first and reopening DHS, which would allow the TSA agents to get paid. Buck, they're about to have their third different missed paycheck. So that's 6 weeks of not being paid for the TSA agents. Cut 22 here.
Do the right thing. Put the country ahead of the party. Now there's a huge rally, another No Kings kinds of protests. So now it's also probably motivating some people in my party that they might be afraid to reopen now because they are demanding these kinds of extremes, what they think is a solution, that there was ever going to be a solution.
Okay, and then here he is saying shutting down the government, always wrong. TSA agents are struggling. Cut 23.
It's always wrong, regardless whatever the party's doing it, shutting down our government. And you can see the kinds of chaos that's created across our right now. They're selling their blood. They have to take, pay loans and just this kinds of chaos. So it's fundamentally wrong. And that's why I refuse to be a part of it.
Buck, what percentage of this audience, and you and I have been in this camp before, what percentage of this audience do you think could go a month and a half without being paid at their current job and be perfectly fine with that? Because I do think it's important to contextualize what's going on here. We're talking about now 6 weeks. That's 3 different pay periods without getting any dollars at all from the job that you've been going and working at for 6 weeks now. I would bet, what do you think, 65% of people, of those of you that are still working, I know some people are retired, some people don't have full-time jobs, but of those that are working full-time listening to us today, I would bet 65%, 60% of people out there would be in significant financial constraints if they didn't get paid for 6 weeks.
Well, that mirrors what the stats are nationwide. And that's exactly what I would assume is true for because, we have all 50 states represented in listenership. And so, I would think it's about 30% of those with us right now, of all of you with us, could weather this storm financially pretty okay, but 70% would be running up some credit card debt, asking the landlord maybe for a month of grace or something. I mean, that's where reality is for 70% of Americans, 65 to 70%. And it's just so cruel. You'll notice Democrats complain so much if Trump wants to do any cuts to any federal government jobs or do anything like that at all. And yet they'll turn around and throw TSA under the bus if it benefits them politically without a second thought. They don't care. It's not just TSA, by the way. It's DHS more broadly, as we know. Coast Guard and others are also affected by this. So I think it's, dare I say, it is disgraceful. It is deplorable.
Yeah. And That, by the way, Elon Musk offered to pay the TSA agents, and there was a decision made that it was probably not legal. And rather than getting into a legal battle over whether that was permitted or not, the Trump administration decided they would say thank you, but decline his willingness to pay. I come back to this should just not be allowed to happen. And I'm looking right now, the headline is CNN, the amount of workers that are calling out. Again, it appears to be constantly New York City, Houston, Atlanta, New Orleans, and those cities by Atlanta, if I didn't say it, overwhelmingly dealing with the biggest issues here. But I just think this should be eliminated once and for all. I don't think you should be able to go to work and not be paid. And I understand some of you say, well, they're going to get paid eventually. Okay. But again, I come back to how many of you could go 6 weeks at your jobs not being paid at all, knowing that it might be months before you got paid for the time that you're working. This is not what they signed up for. And unfortunately, we're losing hundreds of employees, and it's a total mess. And again, I think the important thing to keep in mind here is Democrats have decided this is a price worth paying because they want to keep as many people as they can from getting deported who are in this country illegally. They're making citizens suffer for their attempt to protect non-citizens.
Yes, and they're also going after TSA. I mean, when TSA is affected by this, I know it's DHS more broadly, but TSA has nothing to do with what their objections are. So this is Democrats pulling the fire alarm, so to speak. This is lying in the streets so the cars can't get by. I mean, it's obstruction. What they're doing is just pure obstruction of government administration, and they're doing it under cover of caring so much about what happened in Minneapolis. How many Democrat members of Congress could even name both of the people who were killed in their altercations with ICE in Minneapolis? At this point, I think they could name one. I doubt most of them could even name both of them right now. They don't care is the point. They don't actually care about any of this. They just want power. And they're willing to make people miserable, and they're willing to make Americans suffer and slow down your travel and cause all kinds of disruptions to commerce, to businesses, because they're not getting their way. And because they don't have anything else to go on here with Trump. Are they hoping that something terrible happens in the Iran war so that they can then use that? Sure, but it hasn't happened yet. So, Clay, this is the best they've got.
This is we mentioned this before we were going to have our guest on, I think, and I wanted to come back to it. This is from Kash Patel, and we mentioned this. This news just came out about an hour ago now, 45 minutes or so. An IED was placed at MacDill Air Force Base, home to CENTCOM and U.S. Special Operations Command. A brother and a sister have now been indicted. One is in custody for accessory and evidence tampering, and the primary suspect is charged with explosives offenses, is currently in China. The FBI, working with our partners, will continue pursuing all these responsible and ensure they're brought to justice. They say this is tied to the Iran war. The device was planted there. So the reason why I bring it up is, again, we had the situation, Buck, in Detroit, north of Detroit. We had the situation at Old Dominion University. These are terror attacks, by the way, by situations. Austin, and the attempted terror attack in New York City. And now we have this situation that is coming out that was attempted in Florida. And again, I mean, FBI Tampa accused of hiding and attempting to set off an IED. And we'll see what exactly happens for this. But on March 16th, FBI Tampa announced that a suspicious package had been discovered, and they were then able to track down where it was, and they believe it was connected to what's going on in Iran. So yet another would-be attempt to create an element of terror, kill people. And the reason why I bring that up in conjunction with the TSA is you would think of all times that we would want the TSA to be as safe as possible. It would be now when we know that there have been even more aggressive attempts to bring terror attacks to this country than in the past. It just, to me, is indefensible.
All right, let's hop into some of our calls here, Clay, 'cause we got a lot stacked up, and also some of our talkbacks. We have Randy in Cocoa, Florida. What's going on, Randy?
Hi, how are you doing?
We're great.
Great. I and my wife have a huge amount of respect for you two. We listen to you every day, if at all possible, and you have no idea how invaluable what you do for the country is.
Thank you so much.
But I wanted to talk about Iran. There is an aspect to the conflict there that I can't believe it's been overlooked. I spend a lot of time yelling at my radio that we need to take a page from World War II when we dropped hundreds and hundreds of small arms and tons of ammunition, explosives, first aid, communications gear to the resistance fighters of Europe. And I can't for the life of me understand why we're not doing that for the resistance in Iran. It would be a military asset that would be cost-effective beyond belief. We'd be making good on a promise that we made to those people to watch out for them and take care of them. Any solution to the Iran conflict that does not involve the complete and total removal of the theocracy is not a victory. It is an illusion of victory, and we will regret it. We will fight this war all over again within 10 years if we leave those people in power. They have got to go, just like the Nazis had to go at the end of World War II.
Thank you for the call and the historic analogy. Buck, I haven't heard anybody make this suggestion. My guess would be that right now the IRGC is still in control of much of Iran, and that if we were to drop weapons, we think those weapons would end up in the hands of our adversaries as opposed to the adversaries of the government. Would that be your sign off on what you would expect is the rationale so far for why weapons drops are not occurring?
Yeah, we don't have the networks on the ground to get the weapons to. We don't know who would be trying to get the weapons to. The British and the French, for example, the Allies, the Brits knew that there were people in France who did not want the Nazis there and in charge, and they weren't that hard to find under the occupation, Vichy government and all that. I don't think we know in Iran. I mean, we're the invaders, technically, so it's a little bit of a sketchier situation with regard to that, although I wish we could get some resistance going on the ground. Janine in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania wants to chat. What's up, Janine?
I know this is probably a long shot, but I was wondering if we could compile a list of the TSA workers and set up a GoFundMe and have Elon Musk or other people help to donate to them, even if it's done state by state. But I'm sure that there's federal regulations that we have to work around.
I think the problem is, first of all, how would we? You're saying why can't we all raise money to pay the TSA salaries? Didn't Elon offer to do it himself, Clay, and that was kind of brushed aside? First of all, how much money are we talking about?
There's 50,000 employees, 6 weeks. If the average employee is making $50,000 a year, the math on that would be roughly $1,000
a week. Yeah,
a week per.
So 6,000 times 50,000. Who wants to do that math? We're looking at 300 million or 3 billion, or what is that?
I think it's 300 million.
There we go. 300 million sounds right.
I'm doing math on my calculator right now.
That was pretty good, by the way. I think McKinsey would definitely hire you. That was impressive.
Yes, 300 million. So yeah, with $300 million, I don't know what the biggest GoFundMe ever has been, but I would guess that's orders of magnitude larger. And again, the thing I would say is they're eventually going to get the money. So it's not as if they are being, it's the fact that they're not being paid currently. And again, all of your bills, as you well know, do not stop. And so the average person out there doesn't have that luxury. And a lot of these people have kids and they're taking time off and all of those things. And so again, I think this is a significant story that is indefensible regardless of your political posture. And if I were having to stand in line for hours at any of these airports, I would be furious. I would be absolutely furious.
We'll come back and close out thoughts with all of you here before, I can't believe it'll be Friday tomorrow. So we'll be right back. Born on America's darkest day of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells. Inspired by the heroism of firefighters on 9/11, Michael felt it a calling to pursue his dream of serving his community as a firefighter. He would devote 14 years to his fire department, rise to lieutenant, save lives, and earn the badge of honor for his bravery. Despite Michael's courage, faith, and unwavering smile, he lost his battle with occupational cancer. This 25th anniversary year of 9/11, Michael's story reminds us of the profound impact on that day for America's heroes and their families. Michael leaves behind his loving wife, Katie, their 3 children, and a legacy of service and love. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation honored Michael by paying off the Wells family's mortgage. Help Tunnel to Towers support more families like the Wells family. Join us in donating $11 a month and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Want to be in the know when you're on the go? The Team 47 Podcast. Trump highlights from the week. Sundays at noon Eastern in the Clay and Buck Podcast feed. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyper-local, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Kids, pets, life, your sofa sees it all. But with a washable sofa, stains don't stand a chance. All of our sofa collections come with fully machine washable covers and cushions, making cleanup effortless. Liquid and stain-resistant fabrics provide extra protection against everyday messes. Plus, with modular designs, you can rearrange your sofa however you like. Perfect for growing families and changing spaces. Starting at just $699, it's time to upgrade to a stress-free, mess-proof sofa. Visit washablesofas.com today and save. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Running a business is hard enough, so why make it harder with a dozen different apps that don't talk to each other? One for sales, another for inventory, a separate one for accounting. Before you know it, you are drowning in software instead of growing your business. This is where Odoo comes in. Odoo is the only business software you'll ever need. It's an all-in-one, fully integrated platform that handles everything. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, HR, and more. No more app overload. No more juggling logins. Just one seamless system that makes work easier. And the best part, Odoo replaces multiple expensive platforms for a fraction of the cost. It's built to grow with your business, whether you are just starting out or already scaling up. Plus, it's easy to use, customizable, and designed to streamline every process, so you can focus on what really matters, running your business. Thousands of businesses have made the switch, so why not you? Try Odoo for free at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
Welcome back in. Hour number 3, Thursday edition of the program. Encourage you, as always, go subscribe to the podcast. Podcast numbers are rolling. We've got a great podcast network. You guys are listening to those shows in high numbers, too. And we also want you to go subscribe on the YouTube channel where you can find a bevy of different videos from the program. And starting very soon in the next few months, we will have all 3 hours of the show on video every single day. So there are going to be a lot of different angles there for you guys to be able to continue to consume this show. And we're excited to be as many different places as we can be. Also, probably should remind, we're on satellite radio. First 2 hours of the show right now. Third hour is being added soon. And a lot of people out there are weighing in on a variety of different topics, and we'll have some fun with that during the course of the final hour of today's show. But we are joined now by Maureen Callahan, journalist, New York Times bestselling author, host of The Nerve. And, okay, Buck tells me that you have a strong take on this. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but sources tell me that Carrie Sexton and Laura Travis both, independently, have been watching this John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette show. Every time I walk through my bedroom, it has been playing over the past few days. It makes me think that women everywhere are watching this show. The parts that I have seen are trash. Why are they watching? Am I wrong?
That's for me, I take it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, I don't know that it's, I would love to know the demographics of who is watching, the breakdown between men and women, the ages. It is hitting a 90s nostalgia marrow like nothing else.
It is, and by the way, Maureen, it is white women between the ages of 20 and 50 that are 95%, I'm convinced, of the viewership of this show. This is my take on who's watching.
Interesting. Well, listen, I'm something of a Kennedy historian. I wrote the book Ask Not about the real story of the way that the Kennedy men have treated their women. It's upsetting to me, actually, because I was talking to a friend of mine over the weekend, very smart, very sophisticated, lifelong New Yorker, grew up with JFK Jr. in our faces, said, "Oh, you mean it's not true? Like the way in which their story is being depicted in this Ryan Murphy FX Hulu melodrama isn't true." And I'm like, none of it's true. They were both pretty awful, shallow, vain, selfish people. He was a moron. He was a true idiot. And I believe, I theorize it with a lot of legitimacy in the book, and I've done so on The Nerve because we're recapping it every week. I think that was a murder-suicide. I really do. Wow.
Okay, well, hold on, Maureen. First of all, before we get, that's a big thing. We can address that in a second. I want to hear your details on that.
Oh, I knew you would love that theory. Whoa. I knew it.
Well, you think I love that theory. All the stuff you said before that, inject it right into my veins, Maureen. Every time I walk in and my wife is watching the show. And by the way, my wife, who is totally like as right-wing as I am, she knows all this stuff, but she's still watching the show, so she's very, very aware of the truth of the Kennedys. But she laughs at me because I can't walk in without going, "Oh, the Kennedys are trash. They're the worst people ever. Camelot's all a myth, a lie." It is amazing, the brand creation. I mean, can you speak to this a little bit? This, whether it's Camelot or it's JFK Jr., all this stuff, Teddy Kennedy. These people have a long history, the whole dynasty of Kennedys, of being abject trust fund scumbags who do really bad things, particularly to women, but the media keeps propping them up, keeps pretending like they're the good guys.
Okay, I'm going to your point right there, Buck. I'm going to tell you my favorite scene thus far of the entire series. I don't know if you happen to, quote unquote, walk by while your wife is watching it.
Okay.
This has happened to me 7 times. I've walked by and my wife has been watching this show.
It's like a drive-by. It's such an accident. I know, you guys. You know the scene where Donald Logue as Ted Kennedy is ripping JFK Jr. a new one for fighting with Carolyn publicly in the park, and they were like physical. They were like going at it. And Ted Kennedy flings a New York Post on the table across to JFK Jr. and goes, "This family means something to people." Right? And that scene is done straight face, and it's like, this is a guy who left a campaign aide.
I didn't know
28 years old.
that this scene existed, but yes, continue.
It's legit in 3 feet of water. This is a guy who would sexually assault waitresses in DC restaurants as recently as the 90s. He did it in front of the late Michael Kelly, who was doing a profile for him in GQ magazine, and this assault ran in GQ magazine. And this series is treating this family like it's our version of The Crown. And, you know, people, there are people who want this sort of, they want to be narcotized. They want to get high on this garbage. And then there are the rest of us who are like, wait a minute. My problem, just as a storyteller, is that the real story is so much darker and more effed up and compelling. And these people are such messes. Ryan Murphy easily could have gotten 3 seasons out of this. Easily. But they went with the fairy tale version, and it's ending this week.
Okay. So now we're talking to Maureen Callahan. The Nerve is your podcast, right? So you're doing phenomenal stuff, and I guess my wife is a fan. So I actually come across my wife.
Do you happen to just walk by when she's listening like you don't listen? I just want you to know, by the way,
I'm going to admit this. You've courted me. When I walk by, do I end up watching the rest of the JFK Jr. episode? Yes, I do. But it's an accident when it starts. But
Okay. I'm going to be honest. I have not sat down and watched any of it, but she's obsessed with it, and I told her this was a trash show.
But what I was going to say was that I come across my wife listening to your podcast sometimes, and I hear you speaking truth about Kennedy's, and I'm just, oh my gosh, it's like the John Hamm meme where he's dancing in the club that everyone sees online now. I'm just like, oh, tell more truth about the Kennedys. They're the worst people ever. Even like Caroline was like ambassador. These people are all just so vain and so worthless, and the Democrat media props them up so much. Your statement, I have to bring myself back into this. You think that the plane crash with JFK Jr., his girlfriend and her sister, just walk us through the evidence on this, because you made quite a claim.
Oh, yes, of course. So I studied the NTSB report, the formal investigation and findings into that crash like a Talmudic scholar. Okay, so here's something that the mainstream media has never reported and still will not, even though I put it in Ask Not. John F. Kennedy Jr., before crashing that night with his wife and sister-in-law on the plane, almost smashed into a packed American Airlines commercial jetliner making its descent to JFK. They won't report that. He didn't turn his comms on. He didn't file a flight plan. He was seen on the tarmac carrying a half-drunk bottle of white wine, was on pain pills for a broken bone. He had just gotten his cast off. Multiple pilots on that tarmac told him, don't go up. I'm not doing it, and I'm way more experienced than you are. His flight instructor offered to go with him. He said no. And he wasn't instrument rated. It was so hazy that night. Now, why would he do that? Everything in his life was falling apart. His magazine had become a laughing stock in the media. It was failing and nobody wanted to buy it. His marriage was falling apart. His wife was going to leave him. His cousin and best friend Anthony was dying of cancer. His sister, his closest confidant, was no longer speaking to him. His business partner had cut him out of his life. JFK Jr. thought it was a joke at first because nobody ever left John F. Kennedy Jr.'s life. He was John F. Kennedy Jr. This guy had enough after JFK physically assaulted him in that magazine's offices. He did not have the internal resources to deal with one of those public humiliations, let alone a panoply of them. And so that's what I believe.
Wow.
So
that's bleak.
Yeah, that is very, very bleak. Why do you think, and the answer may well be, The Crown, Buck made fun of me initially, is a really well done show. And I can understand why there is a strong appeal.
Can I just as background for you, Maureen, I just think the whole fascination with the British royal family, particularly for Americans, is absurd. I think that they're also nepotistic clowns that don't do anything of any value, but The Crown was a really good show. so there's that.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Yes, I agree. It's a really good, there is mythologizing in The Crown as well. You know, with Diana, I think it would have been far more intriguing if they had really leaned into her personality disorder. You know, she stalked one of her married lovers. Like, she just prank called the house. Like the Princess of Wales.
The doctor, right? The doctor guy? Or no?
He was
a
an
different
art
guy.
dealer. She did also stalk the heart doctor, yeah. But the art dealer who was married. So I think had they, and Carolyn Bessette, it's the same thing with Love Story. The business partner who eventually walked out of John's life, she would prank call him multiple times a day and into the middle of the night. And he would pick up the phone, and this is what he would hear on the other end. You should get the F out of John's life. He hates you. Everybody hates you. Everybody hates you at the office. You're bringing everybody down. Why don't you leave? You're a loser. I mean, this is, 6th grade girl stuff.
Why do you think this show is so popular? Because it is. Like, I made fun of it. My wife watched it. Carrie watched it. It has really resonated with, my guess is, like I said, I think it's a lot of times it's women 20 to 50. Why is this show so popular? Why do you think it has connected?
Yes, and I'm going to also bet that demographic has a lot of disposable income. I have several theories. True. Yeah. One, it's a Cinderella story, but it's a real life Cinderella story to a point, right? The heir to Camelot, quote, I put that in quotes, and a girl who came out of nowhere. He could have had anybody. So it's this real sort of wish fulfillment, romantic fantasy. It's mythologizing, which has been going on since the dawn of humanity. And it's also that last moment in New York before the internet, and it was a moment when media mattered, when these people, when the stories that the media chose to tell, how they chose to tell them, that was what everybody believed. We're in a much more complicated time. And it's no mistake that they make sure to highlight the Twin Towers in multiple skyscrapes and backdrops in that series.
It is the book is the 90s. Tell the book, but I mean, I do think there's a huge amount of 90s nostalgia that has captured much of the people who did not live in the 90s. If that may, I see it on my own kids.
I was just plugging Maureen's book because Carrie's read it cover to cover. Ask Not about the Kennedys and how they treated women and everybody. No, this is all true. By the way, Maureen, I didn't even get a choice in this. Like Clay, Clay and I talk. I was like, my wife, she says you got to have Maureen Callahan on to talk about the show and the Kennedys and everything else. So she's a fan.
Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah, when wifey's an actual fan, I'm like, I gotta have the person on the show. So yeah, no, she loved the book and your analysis on the stuff. And now, by the way, she's shouting from downstairs that we have to have you on the next time you have something really juicy on a celebrity takedown because you see through all the nonsense. So we're gonna have you back, okay?
Thank you guys so much. It was really fun. What a pleasure.
The Nerve is the podcast. Go check it out. Clay?
I'll tell you all about, look, this is serious coming out of that, but it is a very, very popular show that is going on. But look, right now, so many people out there are worried about their own safety. We had earlier conversations about innocent crime victims that had done absolutely nothing, and they're going about their day, and something awful happens to them. If you are out there and you've got a kid, you've got a daughter, you got a granddaughter, you got a grandson, they're off to college, they're finishing, maybe they're going to have summer jobs somewhere. Maybe you are in your home, and Buck was talking earlier about the difference between a Rottweiler and a pit bull and a Chihuahua. Maybe you don't want a lethal weapon. Maybe you just want something that will protect you, but you're worried about the lethality because maybe you got teenagers coming in, grandkids coming in, all different hours. Kids are coming in and out of my house at all hours. Maybe you want to check out Sabre, pepper sprays, projectile launchers, non-lethal, but products that are designed to make you safe. We have every one of them in the Travis household. You can get hooked up right now with Sabre pepper sprays, pepper gels, stun guns, all of them. When safety matters, America chooses Sabre, the #1 brand trusted by police and millions worldwide. Sabre is how it's spelled, S-A-B-R-E. S-A-B-R-E. You can get hooked up with all their products. We have all of them. You will love them at sabreradio.com. That's S-A-B-R-E radio.com. 844-824-SAFE. That's S-A-B-R-E radio.com. 844-824-SAFE for Sabre Radio.
News and politics, but also a little comic relief. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
No one knows what the future holds, but you deserve a weather app that can help. WeatherBug is easy to use and provides forecasts for your every need, from storm warnings to pollen levels, right at your fingertips. Get the fastest local alerts and comprehensive 10-day forecasts wherever you are. Its hyperlocal, real-time customizable alerts make sure the weather never takes you by surprise, so you can plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store today and start getting accurate weather forecasts 24/7.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Introducing Anabay Sofas, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices. Anabay brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anabay is the only machine-washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquids simply slide right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your living space today. Sofas start at just $699 with no risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
These days, it seems like AI agents are just about everywhere you turn, every field and every function. But without identity, you can't trust they'll serve your business instead of jeopardizing it. Fortunately, Okta helps you get identity right by securing your AI agents' identities, giving you a single layer of control, a single standard of trust. So whether an AI agent supports a single user or your entire enterprise, with Okta, you'll turn risk into opportunity. Secure every agent. Secure any agent. Okta secures AI.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.